And we are joined once again with Chris Abel, running for Manitowoc Mayor. Your website lists access and accountability as two important issues for you. Explain what you meant there. Do we not have that now, access and accountability?
I believe you can always have more access and you can always have more accountability. One of the things I've done on the website is absolutely, I have put on there my schedule as a candidate. As mayor, my schedule as mayor will be right on there, so people will always know where I am, what I'm doing for the people of Manitowoc. And as far as the accountability part goes, one of the things that I'm trying to do right now on the website is I'm putting on all of the paperwork that I have to file so that you can see everything that's involved there. And I'm trying to show people both what I've done and what I'm trying to do and what I'll do as mayor so that they know when the city says we're doing something, we're really doing it, and you can double check on us.
How important to you is accessibility to the mayor?
I think let me try that again. I think accessibility to the mayor is really important. It's fundamental because the mayor's there to work for everybody in the city. And I want people to, I'm going to have open office hours so people come on in. Right now I do virtual hours because of the COVID thing. Right. But certainly I want people to be able to come in and talk. I want people to be able to share their views, no matter who they are, no matter what their concern is. I want them to know there'll be open office hours every week, some in the morning, afternoon, some in the evening, just so that the mayor's available for them to just walk in if they don't want to make an appointment.
You want to bring back the mayor's report to twice a month?
Yeah. When I first got on council, the mayor would sit down with the council and give a mayor's report, which, while the council isn't quite as raucous as the Parliament in England, it is like the Prime Minister's report in that people can ask questions and get answers.
Okay.
I want to do that so that people have an opportunity, the council has an opportunity to say, well, what about this? How are we doing on this project? That's something that's really gone by the wayside over the last 12 years that I think is really important for that accountability, for people to know, here's what we're working on, here's where it's at, here's what the next steps are.
Current way of doing business, current council schedule, more meetings should be held according to you?
I believe that the council has fewer meetings, but they're longer. And one of the things I know from both being on council and working with people on a lot of boards and committees and commissions is the longer a meeting gets, the less productive people are as the time goes on. I'd rather have two short meetings than one really crazy long meeting because everybody's focus wanders off. Everybody starts thinking, when is this going to end? And I think it's just a better way of doing business. Now, that'll be a discussion I'll have with the council. And if they say, no, we like one long meeting, I'll say, okay, if you want the council meeting to run that way, I'm going to do that because that's your choice. But the meetings that I run, I'm going to try to keep short and focused so that we can get things done and then move on.
Manitowoc's budget process, the good, the bad, what do you see that you would change?
I think that the current budget process makes too much unclear to the general public about what's going on. I also don't like the current system that we use, which is the department heads do their budgets, they then submit them to the mayor, who tinkers with them. The mayor then submits his budget to the council, who then tinkers with it. I want to cut out the middleman. There'll be no mayor tinkering. I want the mayor and the department heads to present each department's budget to the council and say, here it is. You give us the big goals. We'll create a budget that matches those. Here it is, and if you want to change it, have a discussion with us so you know what those changes will mean. I don't want there to be this middle step where the mayor fiddles with it as well, because I think it just adds time onto the whole budget process and obscures part of what's going on.
So that's how you would fix it, a more direct route?
Yeah, a more direct route and where it's done in public.
Do you see Manitowoc's government working right now as efficiently as it could, or are there changes you would make outside of what we just talked about?
Yeah, I think that we've seen, I think the city is running well. Okay, I think there are some things that we're not getting to because they're not set as priorities, and that obviously concerns me, and that's something that I would want to fix. I think that we've seen a lot locally with a certain amount of discord and dysfunction in the council itself, and I want, as mayor, to depoliticize local government so that we have less of that kind of shenanigans.
I want to ask you something that was on your website, which sounded almost like a dig to me. You say on your website, quote, "We need to see that doing something is not the same as getting something done." What do you mean by that?
Okay, and
It sounded like you took a jab at somebody.
what? Well, okay, and I don't mean it as a jab, but I do mean it as what I see. There are many big projects that get started at the city but don't get finished. A lot of people ask me, well, what are some things you would like to do as mayor? And honestly, I don't have some big fancy list of I want to put in a Ferris wheel or a Space Needle or anything like that. I'd like to see some of the stuff that we've currently got going get finished. We started clearing the Miro building, but we haven't finished it. We started on a huge breakwater project. That's decades and decades old now, almost 50 years old. And I'd like to see that get finished. And I think by looking at what's started and not done, let's do those things first before we start other things and get distracted.
Let me ask you also from your website, your 3 E's.
Oh, yeah.
What are your 3 E's and how does that benefit Manitowoc?
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate you asking that one. The 3 E's are, and this is something I want to work with the council to do with everything that's passed, every resolution, every ordinance, to make sure it is efficient, effective, and enforceable. So efficient, the council already does a great job on. At the bottom of everything, it's passed what the financial impact should be. What we're not doing a great job on right now is going back and saying, 6 months in, going, well, were we right about how efficient this would be? So I would want to report back and say, actually, we're saving more money, or whoops, we were completely wrong, so that we could correct that. Effective is when you pass an ordinance, is it doing what you were trying to do, or is it not working? A great example of that is sometimes you pass rules for parking, which discourages anybody from being in a place rather than making more parking available. Now nobody wants to park there. And the last, of course, is enforceable. If you pass things that you know you're not going to enforce, then you shouldn't make those laws in the first place.
Chris Abel is running for Manitowoc mayor, and we have more with him after this break, so please stay right there.